Well, right out of the gate with huge news for a huge Eagles fan. Mike Trout has signed a 12-year contract extension. Woo! The Angels that will pay him $430 million. You heard me? $430 million.
Guaranteed?
Is an Eagles season ticket holder. Yes, Barrett, guaranteed. And he's a good friend of Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz. So the Millville, New Jersey native can still cheer for the Birds, but he won't be playing for the Phillies anytime in the foreseeable future. And all that, we welcome you to Quick Slants presented by Nissan. I'm Derrick Gunn.
Oof, oh, but the money. I'm Barrett Brooks, and I think I picked the wrong sport. $430 million guaranteed?
What's that saying you like to say about money?
Oh,
show me
the money, baby. Got to get the money.
That's how you say it. How do you say it?
Show me the money, baby.
No, that's not how you say it. How you say it?
Show me the money.
We mentioned Trout's relationship with Carson Wentz, the face of the Eagles franchise. He is now eligible for a contract extension of his own. It certainly won't be in that ballpark, but it could set him up for life. Wentz became eligible for a new deal after finishing his third pro season. He has one more year left on his rookie deal, which carries a cap hit of $8.5 million. The Eagles hold an option for the 2020 season that would pay Wentz the average of the top 10 QBs in the league, which is in the ballpark of $30 million. Mr. Brooks, are you signing Wentz now, and what kind of money are you going to give him if you do?
Well, the Birds have to look at it two ways. Number one, they can say, all right, Dan, we don't know if he's going to stay healthy, so we can sign him now and take a little bit of that and say, okay, then, we want to sign you now, but you got to give us a little bit, and then we have to sign you for as much because we don't know if you're going to stay hurt or not. But also, Carson Wentz is taking a little bit of like, all right, if I go ahead and sign now, I won't make the big money later because I can go out and play all 16 games, play at a Pro Bowl level, get us to the playoffs, and I will want more money. So both sides have a lot of risk in it, but we have to look at it. It's a level of which quarterback level he's at. And I'm looking at my paperwork, I'm looking at him saying, Jimmy Garoppolo, same type of guy. He's making $137 million. Then look at the bottom of the list, Russell Wilson, $87 million. So I'm thinking, Aaron Rodgers right around 110, Andrew Rook 125. Where does he fit as far as the upper echelon quarterbacks on the list? And I think he's right around right now at the level which he is, which he's hurt, right around $100 million. But I tell you what, if this kid goes out and have a season that I know he can have, the ability that he has, and the fact that he's shown that he can play at an MVP level, he could be upwards of $130 million. So it's really both sides taking a risk, really seeing where they want to be at, what number they want to be at right now or later on. If I was the Eagles, if you're going for another Super Bowl run, go ahead and don't pay them now and get some other players to help you get to the Super Bowl. But if not, go ahead and sign them now, have them a little cheaper, and maybe sign players later on. So it's a double-edged sword. You can get cut both ways, but both guys have to understand they have to give a little to get a little in these contract negotiations.
All right, look at some of the numbers you were just talking about. Aaron Rodgers, $134 million, $79.2 million guaranteed. Matt Ryan, 5-year, $150, $94.5 million guaranteed. Matt Stafford. When I look at the overall top 15 quarterbacks that are being paid in the National Football League, outside of Garoppolo and maybe who's the other one here I'm looking at? Derrick Carr. Those two are 27. But the other 13 quarterbacks are between the ages of 29 and 38. So, with that said, they have been around the block a few times. They have paid their dues. Carson Wentz is an up-and-coming star of the National Football League. If I'm the Eagles, one part of me says, we can get him down to low, especially before that guy named Patrick Mahomes gets his new deal.
Yes, sir.
Because if Patrick Mahomes continues to play the way he's playing, he's going to set in a completely new bar for quarterback payment in the National Football League.
Certainly so.
We'd like to get him before Mahomes get his, but there's a bigger part of me that is hesitant about giving him a big contract because of his recent injury history. He was on an MVP level in 2017, didn't finish what he started. 2018 was having a decent year, didn't finish what he started. I don't like comparing him to a Sam Bradford, but Sam Bradford stole a lot of money in the National Football League from his rookie campaign all the way up to now. Sam Bradford hardly ever finished what he started as a professional quarterback. I'm not putting Carson Wentz in that category, but there's similarities right now between the two. There's no doubt about it. You just say I jinxed him? Don't you say I jinxed them?
No, I'm just saying you did, though. I mean, and you
is there similarities between them?
It's a great point.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go out there and make your money. The best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available but one time for an entire season.
See, so right now, I'm inclined to let Carson play out this year to see how the year plays itself out. I've given him the weapons he needs. I brought in his deep threat with something we haven't had since Carson's been here, a legitimate deep threat that we assume will be on the field at least 13, 14 games a year if you look at D-Jack's game availability over the last 3 seasons. So we have that now. If we keep him upright and breathing, let's see what kind of numbers we can pop. Because if he has another MVP-type season, we're going to have to pay him the bank anyway.
No question.
What did Howie Roseman say when they were negotiating with Fletcher Cox? We know we're going to lose this negotiation. We already know that.
Right.
If Carson Wentz puts up those kind of numbers, they know they're going to lose the negotiation. But you know what? The Eagles are more than willing to pay it because then Carson turns out to be exactly what they moved up the draft for to get. A quarterback who can possibly get them now another Super Bowl title.
Exactly. Well, the Eagles have their eyes set on another run into the playoffs. But I'm not sure what the rest of the division is doing. At this point, the Cowboys added Randall Cobb as well as Jason Witten, who is coming off retirement. The Giants have shipped off 3 Pro Bowlers, including Odell Beckham. And the Redskins signed Case Keenum and a couple of former Giants. So, Gunn, how do you see the division shaking out?
Well, you know what? On paper, and obviously you don't play the game on paper, but if on paper right now I'm looking at this, the way it shakes out, I think the Eagles win this division hand down. But Dallas Cowboys still concern me. Because the Dallas Cowboys have one thing that can be an Achilles heel for a lot of teams. They have a consistent running game.
Yes.
That guy named Ezekiel Elliott is your rushing champion 2 of the last 3 years. And the 1 year in 2017 when he missed 6 games, he still finished number 10 of the National Football League in rushing. Now, in the 2 games they played against the Eagles last year, the first game Dallas ran for $171, controlled the clock for 33 plus minutes. Second game, Cowboys ran for $142, controlled the clock for 45 plus minutes. Now, I know they won that game in overtime on a fluke, but the bottom line was they controlled the clock, moved down the field, and never gave the Eagles a chance to win that game. And yeah, it was a ricochet that won the game, okay. But the bottom line is they got the W, the Eagles got the L. And I guarantee you, after that second game, especially with the Cowboys offense on the field for 45 minutes, the Eagles defense was tired. There's no question about that.
Yes, they were.
You keep a defense backpedaling that long. Now they've added Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb's better days are behind him now. But Randall Cobb, if he's healthy, can be very efficient as a slot. He'll make people forget all about Cole Beasley. And you got Amari Cooper on the outside. And I still think Dallas has overall the most rugged defense in the division right now. Even though they've lost a couple of players to possible suspensions, Randy Gregory suspended indefinitely. They're looking into suspending defensive tackle David Irving, who is so frustrated he has publicly said he is done with pro football. So if you lose those 2 pieces to Dallas's defensive equation, it does weaken them a little bit, but they are a young, fast, energetic, hungry defense. So I think the Cowboys are going to give the Eagles some problems in 2019.
Yeah, they'll be the front runners as far as going into the division, how it's going to shake up. Now, Washington, at this point, they went out and got Case Keenum because they lost Alex Smith. So it'll help their passing game a little bit. Adrian Peterson's still there. Geis is still there, really good running back. But really keep them on step is their offensive line. They have a really good offensive line, which can protect them a little bit. Now, you got to look at the defensive side of the ball. They have a good front 7. Their defense is pretty good. But on the tail end, they went up and shored up the safety position and the corner position. So I like them. I like them going into the season. But I don't think it'll pay dividends because, like you said, it's all messed up in Washington. But if you look at Dallas again, the reason why they haven't made a lot of moves because they were really stout where it counted, and that was on the defensive line and the offensive line last year. They whooped people up front, which allowed their linebackers to go out there and play like bandits. If you look on the offensive side of the ball, that offensive line is good enough to push people around. You have Zeke Elliott out there controlling the clock. That's what they did best, so they really didn't need much. Amari Cooper came into his own going into the second half of the season. It really put them in a position where now you have Dak Prescott throwing it up there. And now they have Randall Cobb. It kind of completed what they wanted to do. And Jason Witten, I know he took a year off, but he's one of them crafty veterans that knows what to do in the middle of that field. So, yes, I think that Dallas is right about here, but I still think the Birds are sitting right up here from what they did in free agency, understanding what their deficiencies were, and got a guy that could take the top off, which will open up that offense. And, of course, defensively, they still need a linebacker, but they still look really, really good up front with that defensive line.
Daniel Snyder down in D.C. giving away monopoly money.
Yeah.
He now has the highest paid safety in Landon Collins and the highest paid quarterback in the league in Josh Norman. We'll see if that equates to a better defense, and more importantly for the Redskins, more wins down the road. All right, one of the biggest needs right now for the Eagles is running back, a position they likely will address in a draft. Running backs coach Deuce Staley is getting a close look at some of the local talent. Yesterday, Deuce was at Temple's Pro Day watching Raquel Armstead. Today, he's up in Happy Valley watching Penn State's own Miles Anderson. Here's how the two compare. Armstead is projected as a day 3 pick. Sanders, he could go as high as a second rounder. He actually had more rushing yards last season than Saquon Barkley did the previous season for the Nittany Lions. So, Barrett, who do you think will be a better fit for the Birds?
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. You say a better fit. Of course, Sanders will be a better fit. You mean he's going to be in the second or third round because he's that skilled. Had over 1,000 yards. He's caught out the backfield. He's the most skilled out of both of them. But if you look at it, he's not going to be a guy that the Eagles will pick up in the second or the third round. I think they have much more greater needs at the linebacker position, offensive line position. They're going to look somewhere else besides that on the first 3 to 4 rounds. Now, if you look at Raquel, he's a guy who, yes, he can go out there and make a major difference in this offense. He's a 4-4 guy. I really believe the dudes likes him. He's a guy that goes into the red zone, and you can count on him carrying it and not fumbling. He has explosiveness. Once he gets past the linebackers, he can take it to the house. I did a couple of his games last year, and with broadcasting, I kept saying his name because he kept being an impact in the game. Now, as far as him catching the ball out in the backfield, I don't know at this point because they didn't do a lot of that there in Temple. They ran the ball a lot, and they didn't throw to the running backs a lot. But I tell you what, I think he has a certain skill set when you get in that red zone, when you get around that around the touchdown. He's a guy that you can look at. He's an end zone sniffer, and he's going to definitely go out there and try to score. He had 13 touchdowns, and a couple of them were deep runs. So, yes, I think he's more of a guy that'll fit what they're trying to do. Armstead will be here, I would say, right around the 4th or 5th round, which is right where the Eagles want to pick him up at.
Armstead, Sanders, very similar. Both 4'9" guys, both 5'11", both about 215 pounds. But we look at what the Eagles like to do with their offense with the backs a lot of times, which is to swing it to them out of the backfield. Line them up in a slot and try to get a mismatch, and that's where I think Sanders has the advantage over Armstead. He's caught a few more passes because of the way Penn State runs their offense, and I just like his shiftiness, how he makes people miss as well. So with that said, I know the Eagles are probably not going to draft a running back that high, but we always hear these GMs and front office people talking about drafting the best player available. So I'm not going to say it's 100% out of the equation. They may not look at this guy and pick him up in round number 2 with one of those second-round picks. Do they have pressing needs elsewhere? Yes. But you want to shore up that offense as much as possible to make that offense as potent as you can possibly make it. So you can't just overlook this guy, especially if somebody else ends up getting him in your division. We've already seen what has happened with the likes of Saquon north of us, and Dallas, of course, with that guy down there southwest of us.
Darius Geis also.
And Darius Geis. And old man Adrian Peterson still running for 1,000 yards at 53 years old. All right, we're going to step aside right now. When we come back, not much left on the backup QB market. So would you be okay with Nate Sudfeld as your number 2 quarterback? And the Eagles added a pair of former Pro Bowlers, but which one will have a bigger impact? We're going to play a little game we call Take Your Pick in just a moment.